Hello again, everybody, and welcome to another Community Connections with Ryan Sauers. I'm super excited to have my friend and colleague, Sabrina Blackston. She's the location manager and funeral director of Eternal Hills Funeral Home and Memory Garden. Sabrina, thanks for coming on the show, and how are you today?
Thanks for having me, Ryan. I am great. How are you?
I'm doing well, and I appreciate those sleek, are they AirPods you got there? Are they AirPods?
Actually, these are Power Beats.
Power Beats. Okay.
Power
Yeah, they
Beats.
got so many of these. Okay, they look good. You look
Thanks.
sharp.
Appreciate that.
You see that sound just works. I just appreciate it so much. Well, Sabrina, tell us a little bit, because I told you this show comes out in video form and then later becomes a podcast. Just tell us a little bit about yourself or your background, your family, whatever, and then we'll get into deeper things about business and so forth.
Absolutely. As you previously said, I am location manager, funeral director, Eternal Hills in Snellville. I also live in Grayson. Been in Grayson for about 4 years. I am originally from New York. I am married, have a 21-month-old daughter named Legend who runs my household. Um, that's pretty much me in a nutshell. My husband and I have a kickball team where my pitch is at. So that's what I do for extracurricular activities when I'm able to do something.
Did you say
That's about
kickball?
it. Kickball. Everyone is
Awesome.
always shocked when they hear that.
No, I haven't played that forever. It's
So,
fun.
oh, we've been playing for about 10 seasons. So we're very, very active in an adult co-ed kickball league.
Really? Is it you
Yes.
play it the same way as baseball still but with a kickball? I mean, like the same bases and
Yes.
something? Is that I remember playing as a
Absolutely.
kid. I was a soccer player, so
Yes.
I used to play and could kick the crud out of it. I mean, but that's awesome. So that'll be something our audience will learn too, because people
Yes.
don't know about such things.
People's always shocked to hear that.
Very nice. Well, all right. So let's move a little bit. So that is very cool, and it's hard to believe your little one's 22 months old. My goodness, we're
She
just talking.
is.
That's one
She was
thing
just born yesterday.
I know. I mean, I feel like we were literally at lunch, you and I, and Greg, talking about that. And I'm like, oh my god! And the clock doesn't stop for any of us in terms of. Well, I guess in your your business, the clock doesn't start for any of us till it stops. But in terms of while we're living, time just goes so fast. And
It does.
but what have you? I want to get in your. Tell us a little bit for our audience about your location in Snellville, et cetera, and then some of the stuff you do. But I also want to talk about this time of what you've seen during COVID, because people are, I guess, still passing away and want to be remembered, that has nothing to do with COVID. So I mean, is it an interesting dynamic for you like this?
It's extremely interesting. So we're a combo location. So we have both a funeral home and a cemetery. And as you know, COVID has changed the way everything happens today. So people can't grieve the same because they can't hug, they can't touch. And that's the universal way to show your emotions and the way you show compassion towards someone. And people can't have their close family at services anymore. Um, there's so many common misconceptions surrounding COVID. So some people are afraid to even have open casket services. They're afraid to view their loved ones. It's really different. It's really different for us today. And everyone now is just trying to figure out how to get through it, in a way to where they can grieve appropriately and where they can celebrate their loved one's life at the same time. But it's just so different.
So that's interesting to me, because that's something. I mean, goodness, from the last time when I was talking to you guys, and just thinking we're all having to reinvent how we do things and just try to get through this stuff. But so when they're doing with viewings and so forth, can they come together, or they have to stay socially distanced with masks? I mean, how does that all this stuff work?
The requirement is you have to wear a mask at all times. We also require that you socially distance at least 6 feet apart. And the requirements at Eternal Hills is we can't have more than 25 people in a room at a time.
Okay.
You can still do your traditional visitations where you come in, the casket's open. Of course, embalming is required, but you still can come in, you can pay your respects. And then, unfortunately, you pay your respects and then you leave. And then it's just kind of left to close immediate family for the actual service, which a lot
Really?
of families are just simply having graveside services now.
Golly, and this is, I don't know, Sabrina, about you. I mean, both of us in this case, we interview people all over, because this show goes all over. As I told you, where it's watched. But in this sense of community, you and I living in these community areas, does it not feel a little bit like a blur from like March to whatever, of just trying? I mean, some of this just, I keep you trying to think where it's like unprecedented, unreal, but some of it's just, when you're saying that, it's just, you're doing it every day, but it's almost like what the heck is going on? I mean, do you ever feel that way?
Yes, absolutely. And it's like time has just completely just evaporated from us. And it's like we were in March and then now here we are in August. There was no summer, there was nothing. And it's like we're here. And it's like we're literally just living day to day, just trying to make it from one day to the next while really maintaining our sanity because no one knows what to do. And it's just so concerning.
Well, it's just interesting with you guys' input because y'all, there's so much about celebrating lives, and all the, y'all are an amazing group. But yeah, I mean, when you think about, you're talking about, one of the things that spawned the show was the COVID thing. But obviously, people are passing away from other things beyond COVID, and
Right.
but how we so it's impacted even. I mean, I'm kind of thinking as you're talking, it's impacted even the way we celebrate or try to grieve or whatever we're doing to life because as human beings we're meant to be like you and me. We'd rather be having lunch right now and give you a big hug, right? And if
Right.
we're created in God's image and we're like, hey, we want a relationship, it's been hard. I mean, I miss so much stuff. Even though stuff's opened back up, it's still,
It's not
I
the
was I was at
same.
I was at Lowe's the other day, Sabrina, and I was buying something, and the lady helping us. So we all had masks on, right? And she was helping so much above and beyond. And we got ready to leave. My wife was with me, and I'm like, hey, I just want to tell you thanks again. She goes, you're welcome. And I said, I got a smile on under here. You can't see it. And she goes, I do too. But it's just different because we're not wired that way as humans.
Right.
Well,
Right.
tell us, I guess, let's get into some words of traditionally, when people are looking to celebrate their loved ones' lives, I mean, just tell some of the many services you guys offer. I guess now you got some more on. Do you have some online components as well?
We do. We have been using Facebook Live pretty much with every service.
Okay.
That way, those who aren't able to travel, those who aren't able to attend in person can still be there in a virtual manner, but it has helped. So that's been a big component for our service. We've been very creative with our services now. We are holding a lot more services outside. As you know, a big piece of Dignity Memorial, which is our parent group, is that we believe in telling life stories with our services. So we have the ability to transform an actual facility to reflect the decedent's life. So we can bring in personalized decor, we can bring in memorabilia that the decedent had, and we can actually transform any area of our building, our cemetery, our parking lot, whatever, to truly celebrate a person's life. A lot of families have been having their services outdoors because, of course, you can have more people just because we can socially distance. So we've
Oh
been
yeah.
doing more services out in the cemetery. We've been telling more life stories through vignettes, which are tables that we have set up with personalized objects that are either from our warehouse or we have the family bring in. And it's set up in a way to where you can actually see how the decedent lived throughout his or her life. And then, of course, we're doing, like I said, the live streaming. That helps tremendously. We are doing the photo montages as we have traditionally done. So we're trying to be more creative. We're trying to do more different things for families. But ultimately, Ryan, it's still difficult because people still want to be there and they want to hug and they want to touch.
I tell you, Sabrina, this is my question. I'm just curious of this, as business leaders and, our audience, like I said, all over the place between podcasts and video listens to this. But I think, yeah, there's no doubt, like, I told you, when I go speak at a conference, well, that's all shut down. That's not happening. It's just not the same. But people want to be there in person. But it will be interesting to me is for like nonprofits, people sit on their board, or for school councils, or let's say you can't get to that wedding or funeral. Will some of this technology then become the new norm, meaning that I want to be there in person, but if I can't, I now have another option that really wasn't done as much in the past? I think it probably will be. What do you think?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because, Ryan, I think COVID-19 has changed the world forever.
It
And I
does.
think once we get to a state to where we can go back to some sense of normalcy, people are still going to be afraid. And people are going to be afraid to touch. People are going to be afraid to leave their homes.
I,
So they're going to
I,
not want to be so quick to go to their high school best friend, from 50 years ago's, funeral service.
but
They're
they
going to be
want to be able
afraid.
to, but they want to show their respects and see it, but maybe not physically be there. And
Right.
yeah, man, just hearing this, because I think this is what's, of all the interviews I've done, Sabrina, and I have the highest respect for you and, Greg, good to be here today, but, just ultimate respect of what you guys do and how you do your business in your facility. But yeah, when you talk about life and death, literally, like we've done on those other shows, at a time when you got COVID going on, because we're all kind of making expressions. Everybody says, "Oh, we're making it day to day." Oh my God, this whole year, 2020, go away. But to a certain extent, we only have a certain amount of years on this earth, regardless. I mean, if we're
True.
perfectly healthy, which comes back to what your daily business is, celebrating the life. So just, so I'm thinking as I'm talking, myself included, God, let's just wish this year away so we can get on with it. But we only have so many years, and what you're experiencing must be just surreal.
It is. It is.
So, well, I know you guys have been doing a lot of the. Now, do y'all? Before I forget, what is some of the best ways, phone or email or website, that people can contact you? They want to celebrate their loved one's lives and see how this stuff, or planning. I know you plan in advance. We've talked about that
Right.
before. How can they contact you before we forget to tell that information?
Email is great. They can email me at sabrina.blackston@dignitymemorial.com. They can call us at the funeral home. They can go to the funeral home website and send in their information via contact form that will come directly to the location. We ask that no one obviously does a walk-in right now. We're requiring appointments, but send us an email or give us a phone call, and
Y-
we'll definitely, be willing to meet with you and discuss options, because it is a time to think about your future arrangements.
Yeah, I mean that's what I'm saying, and so if the people are out there, can they? I'm just thinking out loud. If you have a person, like, I know my parents are at risk, so they've been.
Hmm.
My mom was saying, "Hey, Ryan, I've been like basically inside since March."
Hmm. Hmm.
So can they communicate with you guys about the services without having to come there?
Absolutely. We can do everything virtually,
Okay.
whether it be Zoom or via the Cisco WebEx platform. We have tons of options available. So they don't need to worry about leaving their home.
Okay, and that's important. I want our audience to know, because people are, I know that's going to be a question that someone would ask. Well, like, do we have to make an appointment and come there? And if they say you don't have, you can, but you don't have to. A lot of people might say, if they're at risk, they may say, we do need to plan this, but we're not allowed to. And that is what I'm hearing you say, that you can plan, but you just need to pick, an appointment. Don't come to the door, or set up a virtual time to have a meeting.
Absolutely. That's
Okay.
correct.
Well, let me tell you this. You've answered for me before and different things we've done, but generally, what is the most favorite part of your job? I mean, and what you're missing the most these days.
You know what? And it sounds crazy, but the reason why I even got into this industry is because I love to provide service to others. Getting people through the most difficult time of their life is so gratifying for me. But what's most difficult also right now is not being able to give them that hug. It's not being able to console them when, those tears begin to shed. That's difficult. And I have to be honest with you, and it's funny that you were discussing this, because I think this is the first time in my entire profession where I had to look at my colleagues recently and say, this is a time that's new for all of us, even those who have been in the industry for 20, 30, 40 plus years. And I think we're all going to need to seek some sort of therapy or counseling after this is over, because
Traumatic.
no one, right, this is traumatic for everyone. And of course, we're seeing a different side of it than the actual public is. And so it's difficult because we're trying to not only navigate in our normal lives like the general public, but we're also trying to navigate on the flip side of it. So it's almost double as hard for us. And so,
Mm.
I'm sure it's like that for other essential workers as well. It's very difficult for us.
Well, you guys know, with the magazine part of what I do, we have I've gotten to hear so many stories, but the as much positive stuff of people trying to pour in. I'm telling you, I don't think we have a clue of the. I'm talking about myself included, about the after effects of, you know habits. When you start living a certain way and doing things for you know I mean, it may be a year or whatever, who knows. I mean, I thought in March, we'd be saying, hey, things are really opening up by now. I don't know. I mean, it's going to take a long time of recovery. And I had a psychologist, one of my friends, on the show a few shows back, and she talked about, in the summer months, she was usually, that was a little more downtime for her, and she was talking about how she couldn't even take another patient, and they're only doing virtual counseling.
Wow.
And it just shows, anxious, depressed, overwhelmed. lonely, frustrated, we have all these emotions going on. So yeah, I mean, I think so many people, when I say that hey, I feel that too, and Sabrina, you feel that too. We're all human. I mean, we're made to have emotions. We keep doing our best, but again, I hold you guys in highest regard, and I want, life does go on, and life also does stop. Forgetting COVID, and getting into y'all's hands, and making, even during this time, if it has to be, y'all are going to make the process as smooth as it can humanly be. I mean, I
Right.
can say that firsthand. um all right, so let's just make sure we're not missing anything. What are a few other things, anything else you want to share with the audience that I haven't asked, or anything that you think would be helpful for them to know?
I don't think there's anything else. I think we pretty much covered the most important things.
All right, cool. Well, okay, and why don't we give them one more time? Did you say give me your email and let's do your phone number too, if you know it off, and then we'll put it
Sure.
there, and then I'll close this out in a sec.
Sure. My email is sabrina.blackston, Blackston, at dignitymemorial.com. Telephone number is area code 770-972-3155.
All right. Well, Sabrina, my friend, thank you for coming on with your beats, is it?
Power beats.
Power beats. God. See,
Power
that's why the
beats.
show is real. You cannot be that dumb online, and when it's live, I'd never get it right. Okay. Power beats. I have some power beats, so but it made the sound perfect to you. It's always pleasure to see you, my friend. I look forward to seeing you in person,
Yes.
hopefully
Thank you,
before long,
Ryan.
or before long. But thanks again for coming on the show, Sabrina.
Thanks for having me, Ryan. You
You
take
are
care.
well. Yeah, you are welcome. Folks, you've been listening to another Community Connections with Ryan Sauers, special guest today, Sabrina Blackston. Stay tuned for upcoming shows, and thanks for tuning in.